to a new video. This one is on Team Fortress 2, the classic Valve game, 2007 Valve game. Now, this game is a classic for many, including myself. I started playing this game around 2013? Yeah. About springtime of 2013. And I just downloaded it onto a whim. Because it was... I saw one of the members of the Yogs cast play it, and I thought it looked pretty fun. I've never played a game like this before. Like, I played Call of Duty and things like that, but I never played like a team-based shooter. Right now I'm playing on the PC Steam version. But I'm using a controller so I can get nice smooth cameras. So if you're unfamiliar with what Team Fortress is, Team Fortress 2, it is a, like I said, team-based shooter where you have 9 classes. You have a scout who is good at running fast. He's the fastest class, he can double jump. And he's great at capturing points and just being offensive. Great at just sneaking around and taking off people in the back line. Soldier has a rocket launcher to deal with good damage. He's got a lot of maneuverability because he can jump using his rockets. Pyro, who is all about using the fire, as the name implies. Demoman, who is good at using, creating traps. And again, he can use his sticky bombs to maneuver around. Heavy, he's the slowest, but he's also incredibly tanky. He's got 300 health. Engineer is good at making buildings, holding up defensive positions. Medic is the healer of the group. Insane heals, he can make someone invincible for 8 seconds, 10 seconds. Sniper, he, as the name implies, he just snipes people. And Spy, one of my favourites. Goes invisible, he can disguise as enemy team members, instant kills someone from the back by stabbing them in the back. Sounds very overpowered on paper, but in theory, it's pretty easy. Pretty easy to counter and kill. So, let me disable my HUD again. And rather than talk about the actual game mechanics, let's instead talk about just the maps. So this first map is 2 Fort. It's a capture the flag map. Anyone who has played TF2 for even a couple hours will know this map. It's probably one of the most well known, most played, and most loved maps. Let's come out here to the battlements. It's quite simple. You start off on your own tower, your own fort, as it were, and you essentially just make your way into theirs, capture their intelligence. It's pretty simple. But when you have 12 people on a team, it gets quite hectic. Now, you've probably noticed that there's quite a difference between the red base and the blue base in terms of its aesthetics. That's because the red base, also known as reliable excavation demolition, is more old-fashioned, featuring barns and shacks and more limited technology. And you can see the wildlife that they have out here. The cows. Yes, this one seems kind of strange. They have like little supports at the back of them, and they look very two-dimensional. Yes. Well, that is because despite its humble look as being a farming operation, apparently, there is more to it. Coming down there, it becomes a lot more technological. Very spy-like. And if we come to here, the intelligence group, you can see what appears to be explosion maps all throughout the world. Now, this game isn't post-apocalyptic, and I don't think that this is intended to be explosives. Like I was saying, I got distracted for a second. I had to go. My cow was making noises outside. Like I was saying, this game isn't post-apocalyptic, and I don't think that these are explosion maps. Perhaps there's a few things I can think of. Perhaps either they are locations and bases of red throughout the map, or throughout the world rather. Or perhaps they are a map showcasing supply lines and depots of a resource called Australian, which is a very powerful mineral that is only found in the region of Australia. Apparently it was one of the best materials to be found in the world. It heavily Australian was considered to be one of the most powerful resources in the world. It heavily progressed Australia as a nation, which is quite bizarre. Perhaps maybe this map isn't to do with that, because Australia itself doesn't have any Australian, but that could be alluding to a point in the lore, which maybe we'll go over another time. But yeah, as I was saying, this is it's quite fashionable down there, quite technologically advanced as the base outside would hide. That's the whole point. It's meant to be quiet from a distance. It's meant to just be like a farm, which is also what these cows here are for. Because from a distance, you wouldn't be able to tell. And then if we go on to the blue side, if we cross this bridge over here, into the blue section, you can see that it's a lot more modern, with concrete walls rather than wood, metal railings. If we step out into the courtyard, you can see it's a lot more industrial. And the blue team is, well, it's not spelled B-L-U-E, it's spelled B-L-U, which stands for Builders League United, and this entire aesthetic and As you can see, Builders League United, and the entire aesthetic and theme is meant to be that of a construction company, which also makes sense as to why blue and red are fighting over this piece of land specifically. You have red team, which is reliable excavation and demolition, so it seems that they want to use this to possibly set up a mining corporation. Or you have blue, Builders League United, who want to use it as I don't know, I suppose they want to build more infrastructure. Now, on the surface, that is what it seems like they're trying to do. Realistically, what it is for. And the reason why the two teams are fighting in the first place is because of the Australian. The companies are owned by two brothers whose father, on his deathbed, is getting rid of their company, and instead of outright giving one of them the company or giving both of them the company, he instead just decided to let them fight it out amongst themselves, and whoever wins wins. But that hasn't happened yet. This war has been going on for years and years, decades even. For a timeline purpose, Team Fortress 2 is set in the mid-1960s, but the war for the company has been going on since the 1800s, and the brothers are being kept alive by the Australian that they so desperately want. The team of mercenaries that you play as in this game is I want to say the third generation, because Team Fortress Classic has a different set of individuals as the mercenaries. They're all the same type. They're still scout, soldier, devilman, heavy, medic. Like, it's all those people, but they're just different. You can even see it out there on the left side, where it feels a lot more agricultural, like a proper ranch, whereas here, followed up by concrete tubes and trains, railways. It all just feels industrial. It's almost as if it's like two turning points of civilization. The old-fashioned mixed with the new. One so desperately wanting to stay relevant on his side with his business, one wanting to push the boundaries of into the future. It's an interesting map just from that standpoint alone, because it tells you so much of what you need to know, or what you should know, without the game having proper lore or entries that you can read into. But when you think about it, this is just such a nothing place to fight over. It's just empty land. All that's here is a small little well, which many a death matches happen underneath here. Instead, what these buildings signifies, what they're actually used for, is to spy on the enemy. It's used as a point of information for their own corporation, for their own team. Which is why in Capture the Flag, there is no flag per se, there is intelligence. You invade the enemy's base, steal their briefcase full of intelligence and take it back to yours. The game is all about, the story at least, is all about destroying the enemy teams as much as you can. Payload, for example. which we'll explore later, is about usually sending a destructive payload to the red team, destroying their base of operations. Whereas maps like King of the Hill and Control Point is about taking control of their territory. It's all about, just destroying the enemy corporation, either red or blue. It's a very spy tech based game. The art style doesn't seem to show that, but there is a lot towards it. From just the map designs to weapon designs. But when you get into the lore, it's all quite interesting. And like I said, this is one of the most popular maps for a reason. Due to its size, and this being one of the original maps to be added into the game. I'm fairly certain upon release this was in the game. Because this is also a reference to Team Fortress Classic and the Quake game, the Team Fortress Quake mod. Which Quake is the original game that Team Fortress is based on. This is more traditional community, known widely among the community as a team deathmatch map. Because there's no time limit on the map, the only way to win is to play the objective and to obtain the enemy's intelligence 3 times. But people mostly just use this map to fight, to run around, fight, 1v1, or just in general be silly. Play the game as it should. It wasn't expected to be played. They just kind of do their own thing. That's 2 forms, yeah. It's quite a nice spot. Definitely a classic. But now we'll go on to our second map, which would be the Control Point map. And I will see you there very soon. Welcome back, and this is our second map we will be discussing, which is Mountain Lab. Mountain Lab. This is a very nice map And looking at a spawn point now, and I've actually realised just how nice of a spawn point the blue team has. With the overhead train and the waterfall. This is in a Boggy Brooks boat rental. Interesting. So, this is a Mountain Lab is a control point map, which the entire point is to capture the enemy team's base. And as you can see, like I was saying before, most of Red's architecture is kind of built on like shacks and wooden buildings and farmland. And when you're here, at least, it does seem to look that way. You know, it's even got trucks full of grain, or sand, or dirt. And here, like, it's a nice kind of warehouse, but as you make your way through, you can see immediately just how much of a facade that kind of architecture is. Wow, that is such a nice design. Never fully appreciated the maps until looking at them the way I am now. So, the control point is set in two different ways. The blue team is designed to attack while bed defense. And what you do is these glowing points on the map, you take each one as the map progresses. And once you capture it, red team can't take it back. It's no longer theirs. And that's it's quite a popular game mode. It's a very fun game mode. It really gives everyone a chance to shine in their abilities. Because this is quite a straightforward map. Sniper, for example, is a very easily, he shines quite well on this map. For example, like if I scope down, most people will be fighting around this area. And while you have, certain defences here, when you're fighting, it's very easy to kind of lose track of where your position is, and accidentally just pop out here and then bang, you're done. Saying that, there's also the chance that they have a sniper on this area, which can ultimately result in a 1v1 between the snipers, and having everyone here still fighting without worrying about being sniped, depending on how long that fight goes on for. But you could have like a spy roam up to here, walk along, and then suddenly, bam, I'm dead. Similar, you could have it there. You can have an engineer set up a sentry along here or down there to prevent snipers and to prevent people from coming up from here. If a scout was to come up here for a sneak attack, they would walk here and see a sentry gun, and they wouldn't be able to react too quick and die. So it's quite a well-designed map in that way, especially for the different various points of access, like here, for example, on the right side, on the left side, straight down. But again, because it's quite a long vantage point. You wouldn't really want to have like a medic out here because they'd be very at risk of dying. The developers at Valve are possibly one of my favourite ones in terms of their design because they really do take their time to figure out how things work. The balance of gameplay, a nice shift between what works and what doesn't, and a constant back and forth between the two teams, two players. It just works well, and they've had many discussions about what can work and what can't work. The biggest discussion that they ever had was, well, before they settled on this sort of 1960s spy tech, they decided they were toying with the idea of having a alien-based game instead, which they scrapped for this, but they later went to this design in, I believe, 2016, 2017, where they dropped the Invasion update, which introduced a few alien-themed maps, including a two-fort variant, where it was alien. I believe Red Team were trying to stop and kill the aliens, whereas Blue Team were trying to capture and research the aliens and their technology. Another point of interest that Valve had with their design philosophy was they wanted to originally have a class called a commander class, who would take a seat, like take a step back from the action, and instead throw out strategies, tactics, cool signs to their teammates, essentially telling them where to go, what to do, where there would be a good point of entry, what is being held up. Again, for example, if there was a sentry gun here, an engineer would set up like here and a sentry gun there, the commander would be able to identify that and basically just give instructions to his team. Or, I don't know, we never found out too much information about the commander. We don't know if he was a playable class in the battlefield or if he was just there, like watching from a separate screen. But I'm glad they did get rid of that, because while I can see that they were intending to have a team dynamic of like a conversation and such, it sounds way better on paper than in practice. Some people might not just communicate effectively. Some people might not understand what the point of the class is. Or you would have people that are just outright horrible to speak to in a multiplayer game. So I'm very glad that they got rid of that, because it would not have worked anyway. And now I'm coming into the main building, the actual lab that the name is based off. You can see it easily, just how quickly it gets into that kind of spy tech industrial theme. Going from out here, which is all about, again, putting up that facade of a old and rustic farming and mining corporation, to an industrial information gathering environment. It's so quick just how it changes. And you can easily get the vibe that there is a lot more going on. Even here, this what appears to be a control room. You can see the same sort of map that was seen in 2.4. Quite a common theme throughout many maps. But the most interesting aspect is the last point here, which has a very Half-Life feel to it, which makes sense because it's the same company after all. But this device at the top, linked into this control point with a word generator, just gives the impression that there is something much more sinister going on than expected. Now I won't be able to get in here because I'm playing on the blue team, but we'll be there pretty soon. Everything here just kind of alludes to a much more, like I said, sinister plot. Why do they feel the need to be spying on so many locations? What could they possibly be researching? What is important enough that they have to have a whole team designated this area to defend it? And why would they need a separate team to take control of it? So now I will it's more just very interesting, I suppose. It really makes you think. Especially what is going on behind here. Oh, some health, would be nice. From the looks of things, it looks like a control room, but we will take a quick look in just a moment. And here we are, back in red, back in the base of red team. Let's take a look at their spawn point. Yeah, it's nothing too interesting. It is purely just a rest room for the red team. I think most of the interesting stuff is outside, like in that room there. And this room here to the left, and the room directly ahead of us look like the more control, like the areas where they take a look and research and report. It's all very interesting. And it leans very hard into that kind of spy tech industrialization. Then 2.4 does. But now let's take a look at a third map, which is focused more on I suppose, industrialization, which is another famous and well-known map. So I will see you there very shortly. Goodbye for now. today, which is payload upward. Now this is definitely one of my favorite maps, top 3 at least. Just because of how fun it is to play, but also just because of the design of it. As the name implies, you are going upwards, and you can even see out here, you're quite far up from sea level, and much like control points maps, blue team are the attacking team, and the entire premise is to push this payload up the entire mountain, land, deliver into that section there, where we will fall down a giant pit and destroy the enemy base. It's quite morbid when you think about it. And you can see it here still, despite the interior being wooden and rustic. The outside building looks very industrious. Metallic slabs, sheets, rooftops, walkways, merging in with the wooden, rustic feeling of the red team. The window stairs are broken. This is quite a nice looking map. It's definitely one of the, I'm not sure what kind of theme you would say it is. Very industrious, mining. Absolutely like a mining territory. Especially because of how the areas that you go through, like down here for example. When you go into a small little outcrop, small little mining outcrop, and then make your way back out. Now red team would be defending this section here, the A point, which is quite a long walkway. Sniper's haven. There's plenty of cover, plenty of ways around as well. And it's all very hectic at this point in the game. Everyone is everywhere. Soldiers will be up here firing down their rockets. Scouts and pyros are usually in this sort of area, trying to get attacks in where they can. Engineers usually set up on this point, and man, they are tough to take down. Well, depending on how well your team is doing. And coming into here, what you would normally find is a small group is pushing the payload cart down here, upwards. No pun intended. While the rest of the team is up here, pushing forward or defending all this area here. Then you have your long range units down there, or your defensive team down there as well. And it just stays like that the entire map, really. But it's so fun. Like, it's just simple in its design philosophy. And it looks so nice too. You can really see throughout the entire map just how much land red team has in this area. Especially if you look out, like, you have docks down there at sea level. This is quite a large mining operation. Oops. Well, that was unexpected. You have to watch your footing here and upward. It is quite easy to fall down to your death. A very brave and fun part of this map is to try and push people off. Whether that be as Pyro, where you can use your secondary to throw people off, or as Demo Man or Soldier, where you can fire them off with a rocket, or if you want to be riskier, you can try with Scout and push people off with the short stop, or Force of Nature. But it's very easy to lose your footing, especially if an engineer places his teleporter here. You'll just come out sometimes, not realise, and just walk off. It happens more likely than you'd think. That is one of the aspects that make Team Fortress so fun, is the collaboration between players and the map. You would typically find someone laughing along this walkway. Let me show you. You would typically find two people fighting down here, and then one person does as I did, just accidentally walks off a bit too far and falls to death. And the person who remains on the ledge will usually laugh in their face, only for someone else to come down and either kill them outright or to continue the cycle and push them off. It's quite fun, quite goofy. Here especially is notorious for that kind of thing. When you have a sniper up on that ledge there, that's quite tough to get around, but if you're a Pyro and you're dastardly enough, you can get around and throw them off. And it's so worth seeing. When you're walking down and you see the sniper that's been plaguing your team, and you see them fly all the way down. It's really cathartic. It's nice. It's such a nice experience. There's quite a drop too. You definitely would not want to fall off this place. But that's I suppose that's what makes it such a good point for the red team to be here, because of the tactical advantage that it offers. It can be quite difficult to push through on the attacking team, and I suppose that's the point that they were trying to make. Yes, yeah. Red Valley mining. If 2-4 was all about agriculture, then this is all about mining. Aesthetic that they have going on here. And then when you come up along here into the final point, it does still follow that kind of spy tech theme with the concrete and metallics and plain and simple color scheme. But it's not much of a point to make. It's all about mining. It's all about gaining resources, which is ultimately what you were trying to put a stop to, because when you come up here and you're on the attacking team and you push that payload cart all the way down, all the way up, sorry, and it flies down all the way, you destroy all that they have worked hard for. For one reason, who knows, maybe to stop their progress or to take over at some point. It's hard to say, but it's quite a fun little gimmick that they have. And this point especially is hard to push through as the attacking team. Yeah, when you have an engineer here and a sniper there. You got your defensive classes like Heavy and Demoman and Soldier all there. It can be quite frustrating. But when you have all of these points of access, like points of entry, and everyone works, collaboratively, you can get the job done. It is a very nice map. I don't think this was one of the original maps added into the game. I think this came about maybe a year or two later. But it's solidified itself as an all-time classic within the fans of TF2, the community. Whether that be in a competitive format or just casual, this is considered to be one of the most chaotic maps that you can play on because of how tight the checkpoints are and how tough it can be to advance. And again, when you have people flinging off your enemies into those sheer drops, it really does make for such a fun time. But the aesthetic as well is just so nice. It's just, the art style was so good. The paintbrush effect that they have on all of the building, on all the architecture, like this. It feels like the buildings have been here for years, or they've just given the paint job very, they did it sloppy, which makes sense because these buildings are only meant to serve as disguises, I suppose, for their more nefarious more nefarious reasonings for being here. I couldn't think of the specific word that I was looking for. Purposes, that's the word. So, when you look at the paint jobs on the red bases, for example, they do just look like they've been slapped on haphazardly. Same with blue team. They've been here for years, the windows are covered up, the paint's chipping away. It really does give the impression that these companies have been here for too long and are on the brink of collapse, which I guess makes sense based on the brothers Redmond and Plutarch. I believe it is. When you consider their frail states, it makes sense that these companies are also on the verge of collapse. But I suppose that's the point. Team Fortress 2 may not have a masterclass in writing, at least not storytelling, but the story's there when you look for it, and it does make sense when you look at things, and I think the message that they wanted to portray is loud and clear. I think anyone who is playing the game, whether they figure it out as intended or not, or they just I feel like they would understand it just by playing the game as intended. And for that, Valve is definitely one of the best storytellers out there in their games. Half-Life and Portal as well prove that. But let's not forget about Team Fortress. Now, that being said, let me find a nice point to end this video off. I hope this video has been a source of comfort for you, and you were able to relax and enjoy the ambience of footsteps and the breeze and the whirring of machinery in the background. And I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day or evening. Now, that said, with that figured out, and as said, I hope you had a nice time watching this video. I hope it relaxes you, and I hope you have a good rest of your day, or a relaxing sleep, and goodbye to you, and to those who are drifting off. Good night, good night, good night.